Top of the morning, welcome back. This is the Game Changer podcast with Setema Gali. You guys better get your minds right and get up and let's go. See, it's more than the game that we changing.
You gotta work on those dance moves, guys. Come on. Some of you guys are like, no, I need a pole. Just kidding. No. Some of you guys are like, did he see me last night? Okay. All right, so man, I love it. You guys feeling good? All right, time is about 12:20. We have 40 minutes before lunch. Can you guys make it? All right, now listen, I need you to dig, right? Dig. There are a lot of emotions. Who's feeling stuff today? Raise your hand, say yes. Who's seeing possibilities? Raise your hand, say yes. Yeah. We got to keep moving. Okay, we got to keep moving. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to draw some things up for you. And all right. Oh, man. So this is what's happened so far. When you come into the experience, this is you, okay? And you can tell I was an art major. And when you come in, right, there's this lens or there's this perspective, right? We'll call this perspective, okay? There's how you see the world. Then this perspective filters how you see, how you feel, and like what you think is possible. My job and our coach's job in this experience is to get rid of this filter and to help you, right? Let me draw this one more time up here. With the filter, what most people think that they're like this. Well, this is a great goal over here. We'll call this the goal. And with the filter, right, they're just like, well, this is a pretty big goal. This is possible. When we erase and get rid of the filter, what happens is you start to get around other people. Let's go eraser. And you start to see what could be possible. And whereas you thought that's a great goal, all of a sudden you meet someone who's like, no, this is what's possible. Before, we think this is a great goal. When we actually break through and have some perspective, we start to see that something is actually possible, way bigger than we could have comprehended. In order to make this happen, there is this thing called a foundation. The foundation for us is, of course, the 13 principles. We went principles 1 through 7 yesterday. Today, this afternoon, we will add 8 through 13. We'll finish that up. Along with the 13 principles, there are these things called tools to help us on our journey. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. We're going to work on one of the best tools that you could take with you. Some of you have heard this. Some of you are like, oh, I already know this. Man, come on now. I've had people say, man, like, so tell me, you kind of teach, well, like, I've heard this before. And here's my response to that. Unless you are perfectly living it, unless you have mastered it, unless you could teach it from the stage and actually have it land so someone gets it, and unless you are producing results, please don't do that. I've heard this already. Clear? Now, if you haven't heard it before, you're like, wow, this guy's got something going on with him. I'm going to share with you this question. I want you to write this question down again. We've got a foundation that we've got to build, and if we want a big empire, how big of a foundation do we need? Big or small? If I want a huge empire with a huge dream and a huge reach and huge influence and huge impact, what type of foundation do we need? Huge. Now, we can build the foundation, and then as we start, we need some tools. One of the most powerful tools that has helped me, before I get there, I'm going to ask you a question. Here's the question. What is the biggest story that prevents you from getting what you want? What is the biggest story or the thought or the lie or the phrase or the sentence that you continue to consciously or subconsciously repeat over and over and over again? What is that story that stops you from going to the next level? Is it Steve? But man, I kind of plateaued. I'm plateaued. He's plateaued because he's telling himself a story that keeps him stuck. What is the story you're telling yourself right now? I want you to write it down. For Setema, again, you know, I bring it up, and I can say it now because I don't believe it, and I'm like, wow, brown people don't make money. And even that wasn't just brown people, it was I am not good enough. Who am I to do this? Who am I to build one of the greatest franchises in real estate called City to Shore? Who am I to lead people? I'll write this down. Right? These stories will sound something like, well, who am I? Like an imposter syndrome, or I call it the who am I syndrome. What is your story that you're telling yourself again and again and again that stops you from moving forward? And just write it down. What's the story? Because I'm going to teach you how to break this story and how to rewrite the story and how to step into the new story, which takes you to another level. I promise you, the Setema from 2008 and 2009, when I was trying to do this back then, his story was so deeply embedded, it wouldn't have mattered what someone did to me. I would have never gotten here. So once you have your story written down again, write. Don't think, it's this. I mean, what is the story you tell yourself? I don't deserve it. I'm not good enough. I shouldn't have it. No one will listen to me. I'm a woman. I'm a man. I'm brown. I'm too short, too tall. No one will ever love me. Got 2 divorces, 3 divorces. Too old, right, Marge? Just say, I'm too old. Nah, you're not too old. No way. That's a story. That's a story. Okay, now here's what I want you to do. I want you to just, in your tables, and just be real, right? I need you to be real. Hey, here's a story I keep telling myself. Just say it out loud. Just be real about it. Ernie, what's your story that you're telling yourself right now that stops you from getting what you want? Where's our microphone? Aubrey, let's go ahead, or one of you. I know Ernie boy, it's my family. And he's just sitting here right here looking at me. I was like, I'm gonna call on you. Go ahead and stand up.
Yeah.
What's the biggest story, my man?
For me, it's just I'm not that guy. You know, like I surround myself with people that are making it happen. But I kind of resonate like what you said. People like me. It doesn't happen for us because of the environment that I'm in.
Okay.
And so I got to change my perspective, open my horizon.
Okay, thank you so much. To clap. So anyone in here for Ernie boy ever felt like I'm not that guy, I'm not that girl? Who's ever felt that before? Okay, cool, I love it. That's a lot of us. Okay, let's get 1 or 2 more shares. Who's got it? I'm just gonna have you share out loud. Yep, right here, go ahead and stand. Got a mic coming. No, for what you got.
All right, for me, it's more of it's too late. I joined too late. You know, back if I would have joined in 2020 when the house market was nice.
Hold the mic up.
Sorry. Back in 2020 when the housing market was nice, right? I should have did wholesaling better or bought a better house or more properties and real estate. It's too late. Now no one can predict the market, you know? I think now I need to start thinking what are some creative ways I can use what's going on right now and see how I can create something to move forward. You know, that's just one of my ways.
I love it. It's too late. Two club. Who in here right now at this moment has that same thought? Does anyone have that same thought? It's too late for me. Oh man, it's too late. It's too late. I should have jumped on in 2008. I should have jumped on. It's too late. Okay, cool. Let's get one more share, please. Oh, over here. Oh, back on the way in the squad, all the way in the back, all the way in the back. Is that Delcina? Everyone say hello, Delcina.
Hey guys, sorry I have to get this out there. I have been telling myself that I'm not already significant. I I do have people in my life that depend on me and love me and know me and remember me. I'm already building an awesome legacy. So that's the new story I get to tell myself.
Yeah. Love it. Thank you. Thank you. I love it. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Delcina. Now here we go. Let's give you a tool here, okay? The tool is this. And before I give you the tool, there's a distinction. I want you to write this down. Some of you are going to know this, right? The story that I believe the most, the story that I believe the most is the story I tell the most. The story I believe the most is the story I tell the most. Distinction here. If I tell myself it's just too late, it's 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 too late, I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. In fact, I want everyone to do this. I'm gonna say it's too late for me. Say it, let's say it 10 times, ready? It's too late for me. It's too late for me, 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 it's too late for me. Just saying it 10 times and hearing it 10 times, what do you feel? Horrible, yes? Isn't it crazy? Just in that experience, even I'm saying, I was like, I can't even say this. Man, who the hell put this? That's the dumbest thing we've ever done. Don't ever do that dumb shit again. But see, here's the crazy piece. We have stories on repeat over and over and like it's crazy, and yet we don't stop them. So the story that we believe the most is the story that we, holy smokes. And the story that you tell the most is the story that you believe the most. Telling means we say it here, we say it out loud, we look for evidence, we repeat it. We even repeat it in like self-deprecating humor. I'm just not that guy. It's just no one's gonna listen to me. See, and here's the crazy piece. Even if North was like, hey, it's too late. Even if someone's like, dude, it's not too late. Or Delcina's like, I don't know if I'm good enough. And you go, girl, of course you are. It don't matter what we say. It matters who says. What you. The trained, taught, and educated, the environment, the stimulus, the experiences, the stories that you start to tell over and over again is what you believe. And I'm going to add this in here. If you look at the whiteboard or the blackboard. The story that I believe the most about myself is the story that I tell the most about myself. 2008, we lose everything. Move out of the house, move up to another home, move up to another home. It's crazy. Ernest, my cousin here, when we were rolling, they came to the house. Rolling in the Benz, rolling in the Range, rolling in the Escalade truck with the strut grill. I was like, man, whew, I've arrived. All right. Use me, Lord. And he was like, oh, I will. And then we moved. And then we moved again, and then we moved again. And see, when life beats you down and breaks you down and you fail, you start to tell a what? Story. And you start to tell it again and again, and so subconsciously, yeah, I knew I couldn't do that. I can't tell you that time when me and Willie were talking about 150 chairs, just like classroom style. Like, yeah, we're gonna change lives. And it's like 3 people. And then I tried it again. And then I tried it again. And then I tried it again. I kept trying them. And I started to tell, man, maybe my best days are behind me. And maybe I just need to be grateful and accept where I'm at. And then I went to another seminar. In fact, I even asked my mom, I need to borrow some money. It's $500. It's in 2010. So I drive up in a car that my father-in-law bought us. I was that broke. He's like, my father-in-law saw more, right? He's like, well, son, Tema, it's okay. I'm gonna buy you guys a car. Thanks, Dad. So I drive up in the car, and there's like Lexuses and Mercedes, and I'm like, damn. Of course, I'm up in my head like, well, I'm here. Walk in, and one of my mentors, her name is Ann Webb. And she teaches me this concept. Now, it was like a concept that I already knew. She's like, well, you're gonna write this stuff down, and you're gonna write it in first person, present tense, and you're gonna write it as if it's happening. I was like, okay. So I start to write this stuff down. And I start to write all these grand dreams, like, I'm amazing, I'm great, I'm wealthy. I'm writing this affirmation over on this side, but the problem, right, let me come back to my blackboard. The problem was that the root remained the same. So while this is Setema, so this is me. Man, that's a good looking dude. Just kidding. And while I'm trying to cast these, quote, affirmations, who in here has ever done an affirmation, say I? Right, I'm trying to cast these affirmations in the future. The problem, we're going to use red for evil, okay? All you of you people, just kidding, Senator. The problem is I have these roots or these stories that were so deeply embedded that said, I'm not good enough. I'll never be good enough. And it was so deep, it was like Polynesians were just the dudes who do the luau's and cater the food and do plate lunch sales and play music and do luau's and play football. Now you guys might laugh, but it was because I had repeated this so many times, it became the what? It became the truth. And we always behave in alignment with what we believe to be true. True about the world, but mostly true about who we believe we are. So I do this thing and I'm like, okay, something's off. And again, I go on a journey. I keep hiring mentors and coaches and I keep praying, I keep studying, I keep testing. And then something clicked. What happened is I said, well, what if I take these disempowering stories, number one, I am not good enough. What if I take that story? And what if I create the opposite to be the antidote for the story that I have repeated so many times? It's like, I mean, if you have a cold, I'm not gonna go wrap my ankle. I got a cold. Wrap my ankle up. What? I broke my elbow. Cool. Put a little patch on your shoulder. It don't work that way. Yet some of us, this is what we do with affirmations. You have a story. Skips, because you're right there. Skips, what was one of the most disempowering stories that you had? When you came to immersion. Can we get a mic over here, please? Oh, there we go. Willie, thank you.
Okay, I'll talk about the one that changed the most is I don't know anything about business. I don't belong in the business world.
Thank you. 2 clap! I don't know anything about business. And I remember when Skips came to immersion, she was like, she'd say this, like it was like if it was the truth. Well, I still don't know anything about business. I'm like, okay. So if we don't do this the right way, she's just gonna I'm amazing. I'm beautiful, I'm talented, I'm wealthy. All the while, the root of the story says what? I don't know anything about. The greatest thing that she could do is to shift this story, to change this story. And then one of the best ways to do that, you start with the disempowering story that you've repeated over and over again. Then we go to the color of the light and all that is good, blue. Just kidding, Senator. And it sounds something like this. Mine was, I'm not good enough. So then I wrote down this statement that says, I am enough. And that was the start. And I was like, okay, cool, that's cool, but it does nothing for how I feel. So then I went to this one. I changed it. Then I went to this story, and this is one of my first conscious self-creations that said, I'm an athlete. And it's crazy. For so long, I had repeated the story, I'm not good enough. Not good enough. I'm brown, not good enough, not good enough. And it was so subconscious that subconsciously I was creating what? A world where I am not good enough. And then when I finally said, I'm enough, I'm like, well, nah. And one of my coaches is like, coach looks at me, he's like, what would the opposite be? What would give you like fire and shift this? I was like, Again, I'm not talking about throwing out affirmations, just pulling them out of nowhere. I'm talking about acknowledging a deeply embedded story that you have told for so long and creating something that counters and beats this, replaces this. And mine became, I am powerful, with whatever adjective or adverb is in there. And when I said it, I'm fucking powerful. Yeah. Old self-gravity's like, no, you're not, dude, you're not good enough. I'm fucking powerful. And then I no longer needed the F word. I was like, I'm powerful. I'm powerful. Powerful. And I started to say this, I started to see it, I started to write it, I started to put it up, I started to record it, and I just started to say it and write it and see it and say it and hear it over and over. And it began to be tattooed and laced on my veins and the course of my veins and my blood to the point where I was like, I'm fucking powerful. Here's what powerful people do. I'm gone. And anytime that the disempowering stories came up, I'm like, bah, nope. Because I am powerful. I began to create a version of myself towards the thing that I wanted. Now, declaring it, right, what we say, write it, see it, read it, say it, I'll put it up here in a moment, hear it, believe it, feel it, and then live it. I started to do this again and again and again till I actually started to believe what? I'm powerful. And it's amazing. A way of being that says I'm powerful has an action that is powerful. Powerful people do what? They do what's required. I'm a 5-star daddy. In fact, I grew up in a home where we just yelled. And I get it. My mom and dad worked so much for 9 kids. I didn't realize, like, on a Sunday, my mom and dad would be like, they'd be out for like 4 hours. I'm like, man, why are mom and dad so tired all the time? Well, because they're working for 9 kids. So we just yell. And then as I got older, my parents shifted. They saw it. But what do I do with my kids? Early on, I would what? I would yell. Zion, Judah, Israel. I'm like, it's not what I want. So I started to create a different story, because the story that I believe the most is the story I tell the most, and the story that I tell the most is the story that I believe the most. Therefore, it's what I begin to live and do, and thus produce this thing called results. So I began to change the story, and here's what it looks like. Now, while you're listening to this, here's what I challenge you to do. I'm doing it for me. You're going to have to do it for you. Because the only reason you don't get what you want is because of a little story that you repeat here again and again and again. And if you're new in business, I promise you, like Skips, I don't know anything about business. Let's get a microphone to Tasha, please. Tasha, what was the news story that you had to tell so that you could actually be and go do, eventually to have?
I'm a business guru. And I became one.
I'm a business guru. Now, this is just the beginning, okay? So watch how this works. When you begin to create the new story, we call this concept conscious self-creation. You heard Lacey talk about this. You've heard our other coaches talk in conscious self-creation, CSC. You guys hear CS? Oh, I did my CSCs. Conscious self-creation is a new story that you begin to say and create. Now I'm going to show you the formula. First of all, first and foremost, number one, said in first person. Number two, present tense. What I mean by that, it's not I will or I'm going to, because that always puts it where? In the future. It's now. The brain, human brain's amazing. If you say, I am this, it just begins to believe it. That just becomes who you are. Present tense, and then number three, we say positive frame. Positive frame. Positive frame simply means this. I wouldn't say, I don't drink soda. Because the mind just hears, I drink soda. There's no don't in there. So you frame everything in the positive. First person, present tense, positive frame. Say it. First person, present. Dude, wake up. Say it.
First person, present tense, positive frame.
Put your hand on someone's shoulder and look them in the eye and say it. That's the frame. Now, let's back this up here, okay? So you have to first acknowledge the disempowering story. Just be real, tell the truth. I remember coaching Skips and seeing some of her forms come through, and I just remember being like, she'd say that, even at the circle, I don't know anything about business. I'm like, well, that's really useful. Keep saying that. Keep saying that. And she changed it. And as you begin to change it and tell a different story, now, just stay with me here, right? It's not like you're going to say right now, I am wealthy. And I mean, well, unless you're Josh, money just falls from the sky. He's one of the few that can have that happen to him. I'm going to show you how this works. And you've heard story after story and testimonial after testimony of people who do this. It works. This thing works. So there's the first person present tense positive frame. The next piece looks like this. Number one, like once you take your disempowering story, you take the opposite. You take the disempowering story and then you take the opposite. Why? Because we want to counter the deeply embedded story. We can't just pull something out of the air when this deeply rooted story is still there. So once you take your disempowering, let's just write this over here. You take we'll call it negative, right? Your negative or disempowering. You take this, and then you take the opposite. And that begins the foundation of a conscious self-creation. Then number one, you write it. Number two, you're going to see it with your eyes. Number three, you're going to say it. Number four, you're going to read it. Number five, you're going to hear it. Number six, you're going to believe it. Number 7, you're going to feel it. Can I have everyone backstage be quiet? Mark, will you have whoever's backstage? Tell them to shut the fuck up or get out. Number 8, live it. This is the frame. Write it, see it, say it, read it, hear it, believe it, feel it, live it. If I was to condense this down, it would look something like this. Declare. No, that's too small. We need a thicker pen here. Declare and do. Declare, like that's the simple way to say it. This is the detailed version. Write it, see it, say it, read it, hear it, believe it, feel it, live it. Why? Now look at this, okay? Let's come back to the beginning. If I declare something like an affirmation, the creation is started. When you start to declare, the creation starts. But then you have to take the declaration and you actually have to align, AKA you have to do the action that this person does. So if you have the guts and the courage and the faith and the belief to say, I am a game changer. Well, what the hell does a game changer do? And you better put some action in there. For me, Setema says I am a world-class 5-star daddy who shows up for my sons every single day. And I've said this a million times. So it's crazy. There's a natural tendency to live in alignment with what we believe to be true. When I believe and feel that I am a world-class 5-star daddy who shows up patiently and powerfully for my sons, guess what I do? I show up powerfully for my sons. And when I'm tired and I'm hungry, and I'm like, dude, this thing kicks in. Dude, you're a 5-star daddy. 5-star daddies don't do this. I'm like, okay. Whew. You're lucky, boy. You're lucky I'm a world-class 5-star daddy. What if I'm like, I'm not good enough? I'm freaking powerful. Well, what do powerful people do? They have the courage to ship and to do and to launch and to sell and to market and to beat the story. What if the story's like, it's too late? Well, it's not too late. And I start to tell a different story. One more tool here in distinction before we go into lunch. This is conscious self-creation. And we do this how often? Every single day.
Let's go. See, it's more than the game that we changing. We don't do it for the block, do it for the name. Yeah. No, there ain't no stopping it. If you really want it, better rock with it. This is how to be a game changer. Better put your pride down, heavy, get your pen up. Wanna be the greatest, we ain't stopping till we win, yo. This is how to make it when they hating. We ain't worried what they saying. This is how to be a game changer.